All right, now let me show you something. When we click this login link, this login widget pops up as a dialog box in this application. In Auth0, we have this concept of hosted pages. With this feature, instead of displaying this login screen as a pop-up box, we can redirect the user to a hosted login page on Auth0. And the benefit of this approach is that firstly, we can customize that page. We can customize the look and feel. We can customize the name, the icon. And also it's more secure because that communication will be on an HTTPS channel. So back in Auth0 on the left side, we have this menu, hosted pages. Now let's click this customize login page. So here's the HTML that we're going to modify slightly. And let's take a look at the preview. So you see the same login box, but on a standalone page. Now let's go back to this HTML tab. If you scroll down, here you see some JavaScript code. Now look at this part. We're creating an Auth0 lock object. The first argument to this constructor is the client ID, which is unique to each client. And the second is Auth0 domain, which is our subdomain under Auth0. Now back in our application code, if you look at the auth service, you see a very similar code. So here we're creating an Auth0 lock object. The first argument is the client ID, and the second argument is our Auth0 domain. Now note the third argument. Here we're passing a blank JSON object. But in this sample code, the third argument has quite a few number of properties. For example, here we can set the language, we can set the theme, we can change the logo, we can change the primary color, and we can also change the behavior of this login screen. Now, for the explanation of these, you need to look at the documentation, because here I'm just showing you the big picture. Now, there is one thing that we need to change here. Here, the response type property is set to token if this property config.callbackOnLocationHash is true. Now, by default, this config object passed here doesn't have this property. So the value of response type will be code. And this means when we log in via this hosted page, Auth0 is going to return a short code in the query string. But what we need is a token, is a JSON web token. So here I'm going to explicitly set this to token. Now, let's scroll down, save the changes. Beautiful. Now, let's go to this preview tab again. From the client dropdown list, we select our Vigo app as the client. And this is our login URL. So note that it's vigoproject.auth0.com. That's our subdomain /login. And here we have the client as a query string parameter. So you can simply copy paste this code in your browser. You'll see the login screen. And once you successfully log in, Auth0 looks at this client. It knows the details for this client. We registered a callback URL. So it's going to return you back to our Vigo application. Now I'm going to copy this URL. Back in VS Code, let's go to navmenu.html. Here for our login link, instead of calling the login method of the auth widget, we're going to set an href attribute and paste this login URL. Okay? Now let's try it. So back in the application, let's click login. Note that we are redirected to vigoproject.auth0.com. Also note this lock icon. This indicates that we are on an HTTPS channel. Now, as I said, you can customize the look and feel of this page, but that's something you need to do on your own. Now let's log in. So you're redirected back to Vigo. And if you look at the navigation menu, now we have the logout link. So this verifies that we successfully logged into this application.